I was honestly hoping that these shadow beasts would put up a bit more of a fight against the Phantom Troupe, but I guess they're just that much stronger, and very, very cool stuff. Hunter, Hunter, episode 45, Restraint and Vow. Well, hello, my brothers and sisters and hunters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and gory and just badass tale of Hunter, Hunter. Our last episode saw us with, of course, the four shadow beasts that had went to attack Uvo just being fairly easily defeated. But really, at the end of the day, what wound up happening there is Korapka wound up using the chains. They call it something, chain bind or chain something, which I think sounds kind of lame. I'm going to go chains of justice. And anyway, winds up actually capturing Uvo, and they're driving off with him. However, we know that the Phantom Troupe is going to be hot on their trail, as there was a Nen needle that was actually like a tracer that was put into Uvo, so they can track him. So that's how things left off, and that's right where things pick up. They're in the desert. They're riding through. They're trying just, to feverishly get back to the city. Korapka and, of course, the rest of the Nostrad family bodyguards. You have a couple of cars that they're driving along. The back car winds up going and seeing that there's the Phantom Troupe is coming up on them, right? They wind up discovering the needle that's in Uvo, and they get rid of it. And I think Maki is her name, the one that actually used the needle, the pink-haired Phantom Troupe member. Nonetheless, though, it's funny because the Phantom Troops they're all like just shoved into this car, and Nobunaga is sitting in the middle and the back over there, and he's bitching about the seating arrangements and what have you. And then all of a sudden, like, this cloth comes and appears over the car or what have you, and most of them are able to jump out except for Nobunaga. But as the cloth goes and covers over the car, it actually goes and shrinks it up into like this little tightly wrapped package, this little bag. And then all of a sudden, that dude Owl appears, that shadow beast that they had talked about and had said, that he was the one that was presumed to have gone into the vault, and then when he came out of the vault, there was nothing in there. So now we know, obviously, his ability with this cloth, he's actually able to, anything he wraps around it, able to actually shrink it down into size or whatever, because he's sitting there holding the car, and Nobunaga's like, come on, let me out, he's holding it. At any rate, the other shadow beasts wind up appearing, and we find out that there's actually 10 shadow beasts total. So I guess there's one for each Don, for each family or what have you. And 4 of them have already been defeated. So Feitan, the kind of Sasuke-looking, dark, kind of emo-ish kid, him, and he says, I'll take 3. You can have the other 2. He tells Shizuki, and basically they're very confident about what they're doing. They're not even going to have to rely on some of the other members and what have you. So they don't even show the battle. It's so quick and so meaningless because they wind up just showing the dead bodies everywhere, and they wind up capturing Owl because they're going to interrogate him and see where the hell the actual treasure is from the auction house. Because you got to remember that now they're being hunted. The Phantom Troupe is, and they went and they pulled off this job, or everybody thinks they pulled off this job, except for obviously whoever within the mafia knows that this happened, to the higher ups maybe, and they're being blamed by and there's uproar in the entire city now for this job they pulled off, but they have nothing to show for it right now, right? So anyway, we wind up going and seeing Uvo, who gets transported back to York New City and is being held, and as he kind of wakes up from just being knocked unconscious with all the different paralytics they tried to give him, he's chained down and everything else, and as they're trying to get hard with him, like they're going to torture him and everything else, it goes to stab him with the head bodyguard for the Nostrad family. Goes to stab him with this sword to be like, hey, we're in charge. Sword just breaks in half, and Korapka goes and kind of looks at him and notes that his strength of will is so powerful and so strong that even though he's been knocked unconscious, he knows that the torture is coming, and his body is just basically made like this iron body of his will and his strength and his nen that nothing's able to get through. And what I like about this is then he goes and he says, all right, I'll tell you what, I don't have any interest in you people, okay? Alls I want to know is where, because they ask him where the stuff is that was in the auction house. They still don't know. And he's like, you don't know? He goes, it was taken by one of your own people, one of the shadow beasts. Apparently you guys aren't on the need to know list. But I have no business with you. Let me go now. I'll let you live. I only want to get the goods, So Korapka says, well, yeah, we had comrades inside the auction house, friends and what have you. What happened to all those people? And he said, oh, well, sorry, we killed them. That was the job, right? So Korapka goes and just punches his ass right in the face. Now, mind you, a sword couldn't break through his Nen barrier and what have you, but Kurapka is hardcore. Just punches dude right in the face. And I mean, this guy is a big, imposing, hulking beast, man. I mean, he's a combination of like Wolverine, the Hulk, and just like Kraven the Hunter from Spider-Man, and just a number of other characters that you've seen. He's just this huge Conan the Barbarian caveman-looking mother trucker, right? So anyway, he punches him straight in the face, you know. So now between, you know, Kurapka capturing his ass with the chains of justice and then, then obviously punching him in the face, Uvo is not happy with him, you know. So nonetheless, they don't get any information out of him. They don't get what they want out of him, you know. And as it kind of goes back and forth, and then it goes and takes us back into the desert and shows us the aftermath, of course, of everybody dying and what have you, all the shadow beasts being killed. And then really, the owl wound up getting tortured for a very short period of time. Phaeton said it was, you know, he was the one that was in charge of torturing from the Phantom Troupe, and he was just like, it's not even worth it, you know. It wasn't even worth it. It wasn't even fun, you know. He gave up the information too easily. So now they have the goods, right? Because then he's holding this little thing up, and it's a little bag, and I'm assuming that the guy was hanging on to the actual goods that he took out of the auction house. So Hisoka winds up going and asking and says, listen, man, tells the boss, right, says, Krollo, I think his name is, says, listen, I think, I have a meeting, you know, I have somebody to meet, and I got to take off. And he's like, all right, just long as you're back by 6 tomorrow, you know. So Hisoka goes off, and then all of a sudden, Kurapka gets like a text message or a call or whatever from Hisoka, a text message, I'm assuming, and, to meet at the designated place, right? And, because if you remember back when, back in the final phase of the Hunter exam, Hisoka went and whispered into Kurapka's ear that he had information about the Phantom Troupe to meet him in York New City, September 1st, right? So anyway, so Kurapka goes and gets this text, and Melody knows there's something going on and whatnot, but just kind of goes and gives the nod like, yeah, I'll cover for you. Kurapka takes off, and they wind up going, and the rest of the bodyguards that are there, the head guy winds up going and calling, he winds up, calling up the mafia, right? The call is intercepted, though, by the Phantom Troupe, unbeknownst to them, and, and they're just basically just waiting now until the mafia comes to transport this prisoner out of there, you know? So while that's all going down, Hisoka goes and meets up in this, of course, he's a creepy clown, right? He meets up in this, like, rundown-looking carnival, looks like something out of Silent Hill, you know? And Kurapka meets up with Hisoka there, and Hisoka just straight up says, listen, tells him some information about the Phantom Troupe and blah, 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 and the members, and that he knows some of their strengths, and that he's been with them for a few years. He actually wound up defeating, to get to be in the Phantom Troupe, you can go and you can defeat one of the people and then take their spot, and that's what he did a few years ago, right? So Kurapka's like, yeah, that's cute, but I already know all this information. What is it, what are you getting at, right? What is your end game, And he says, well, I want to fight Krollo, I want to fight the boss. And he says, why? What do you care, because he's powerful, just to, like, as a show of force? And Hisoka's just like, yeah, and because it turns me on. I'm fucking sitting there like, you creepy clown mother, oh boy. It is, it is funny to see, though, because you're just thinking about it. It's like, oh my god, this dude's really getting off, he's going and he's jerking off in the shower thinking about fighting people or hurting people, just weird and creepy. But anyway, hey, whatever, man. I'm not here to judge. I just know, too, that you hear all kinds of weird things, in real life about, this murderer, this rapist, this, and obviously I don't condone any of that type of stuff, but, you see all kinds of different things about how, to them, they don't think what they're doing is wrong. To them, it is a rush. To them, it's an adrenaline rush, whether it's killing or hurting or whatever, maiming. So it's their mind thinks differently than the normal mind. Their mind thinks that what they're doing is normal, So for Hisoka, it's just sort of like, yeah, this is fun. This is how I like to get off. But anyway, so he goes and suggests that he wants to get to the boss, right? And he says, listen, I already know 7 of the troop members and what their powers are. So obviously you can give Kurapka some inside info on that, right? And he's like, so I suggest we team up, And Kurapka goes and that's kind of just how that part ends. But I'm thinking, man, that's going to be a really cool team up, man, Because Hisoka, it's not so much of like, hey, we're going to team up and be friends. It's kind of just like, hey, I want to take out this guy, but there's always people around him. He always disappears after a job. I've never really had the opportunity. But you want to take out the Phantom Troupe anyway, so I'll tell you what. I'll help you out. I'll get you the inside track, and we can team up, so to speak, here. and I can help you to take out these dozen other ones or what have you. I just want the boss, So I thought it was kind of cool. The end of the episode though winds up being the Phantom Troupe members dressed as mafia, mafioso guys bust in there and wind up taking out the Nostrad families, the head bodyguard. And honestly, I had his name in my head a couple of episodes ago, and then I just completely forgot it. But he's dead anyway, so not really much of a loss there. He was to me kind of a throwaway character that never had much depth anyway. So when they let Uvo out though, and then Shizuku winds up using the vacuum cleaner that she can conjure, that Blinky, sucks the poison out of him, so obviously he's not paralyzed anymore. He gets up, and he roars, dude. He is just pissed. He flat out just slams through the wall. The other bodyguards are just, strewn about the room. I don't know if they're dead. I don't know if they just ran out of there. But he wants Kurapika, and he is pissed off. So he winds up straight up telling them, and that's how the episode ends, Yeah, you tell the boss that I'll be back after I take out that dude with the chains, So shit's about to go down, and I just cannot. It is so difficult to stop watching. It's the type of thing where I'm actually going to probably, to get caught up over here over the next few weeks, I'm probably going to wind up going and foregoing some of the little bit of sleep that I actually get right now so I can fit in watching an extra couple episodes a day, if I can. I'm going to do everything humanly possible because it is just so fun, so good, so well animated. The story is just so excellent. And with the manga starting back up in June, I want to catch up to where we're at here in the episodes, and then of course do those every week when they come out. But then I'm going to start picking up and reading the manga, and then maybe like in arcs or volumes or something like that, throw up a video just to kind of talk about some of the subtle differences or what have you that may be between the two. So very good stuff though. My episode question for you though, brothers and sisters, is really, now that we know more about several of the Phantom Troupe members, who is your favorite one? Right now, I guess at this point in the series, who's your favorite Phantom Troupe member? I know several of them, and I know several of their powers, and I've at least seen several of them to some degree their powers. So let me know what your thoughts are, though, in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching all of you in the next Fun Nation.
Remember to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and even check out my other channel.